It's tier list Friday, so let's get on with the best comps to play in the new patch, patch 15.6. There are a lot of new power-ups added. Most of them, I'm gonna be honest, I have not seen too many of them being played that much. For example, I was looking at the 2x contender one with Vi, Arius, Darius, Yasuo, Jinx, Braum, and Echo, and as you can see here, like the average placements just are not doing all that great for some of these new power-up comps, but you know, in time, maybe they need a little bit of a buff. Maybe people aren't itemizing correctly. Right now, I think the only cool new one is maybe a Malzahar build with Noxious Traps. I think that's really fun to try out if you have not already. But if something goes crazy, I'll be updating the website. I'm doing it pretty much every day, so let's get on into the tier list. There are 10 comps I need you to pay attention to for this patch. So in the S tier, we have Veteran Mentor Janna, one of the best comps by far without many requirements. Bastion Artifact Kog'Maw. You could play this comp without artifacts, but it's highly recommended that you do. It's probably like B+ without artifacts and S- with. Executioner Akali, very solid comp still. It got nerfed a tiny bit, but Akali still is very useful. It's like if you have it, you play it, and Ryze is also pretty good in a bunch of comps right now. So after that, we have in the A tier, Mighty Mech, still solid. Not as good as it was before, but it's still very solid. Katarina reroll is making a comeback. Good with artifacts, good with radiance, also good just on its own if you get it. Mentor Volibear Ryze, there's a new way to play Volibear now. We have Bastion Yasuo. I love the new power-up that Yasuo got. I forgot to mention that before. Malzahar heavyweights with the Noxious Traps. Star Guardian and Soul Fighter are going to round out with the vertical comps in the A tier. Still good if you get good starts for verticals, but they're not something that you just spam every single game anymore, which was kind of what Star Guardian was last patch, but that is mostly nerfed now. So in the B tier, you have Kayle, Crew, Fast 9. Fast 9's still good. A bunch of legendaries got buffed, so I was surprised this isn't doing better, but I have it in the B tier for now and like B+. I mean, if you get a great game for it, if you get a lot of econ, then yeah, it turns into A tier, sometimes even S tier. But on average, probably around the B+ range. Bastion Xayah, Battle Academia Yuumi, Luchador Volibear, Protector Sniper, Jhin Reroll, Sorcerer, Volibear, Jinx Flex, Snipers, a bunch of other stuff. I'd mainly just focus on the top comps you see up here and dip it to the B tier only if you have to, you know, and try to stay at the top side of the B tier. But let's get on into play each and every one of these comps. Let's start off with the Janna build. So with Janna, we have the 3 strategists, and of course the 4 mentors. So we have Kabuko and Janna being the 2 mainstays, being the 2 carries, and then you could utility Ryze or even secondary carry him, and then Jarvan gets the Protector's Vows if you get them in the late game. Really, really good to have on him. So Janna items, Blue Buff and Jeweled Gauntlet, I'd say are the 2 mandatory items. I believe I opened up the Explorer here, so the 3rd item, honestly, doesn't really matter. You can see that all these random generic AP items, they all do good. They're all around the same. But one thing I do want to point out is that Blue Buff is a must. You do not want the Spirit Shojin. It's considerably worse, so just stick with the Blue Buff. If you do get artifacts, because you do want to get them in reroll comps, then Mana Zane's pretty good, and Radiant items are always going to be good on her. Just because reroll comps, and in this set in general, Radiant items are just a bit overpowered compared to what they are normally, but they've always been good in reroll comps. So that's why you build her like that. For Kabuko, just standard tank build. Getting shields is a bit better because you could use the best defense power-up, which is pretty solid on him. And of course for Janna, you need the veteran power-up. That's what makes this whole build work because you have mentor activated. That way you could get to 4 mentor. And it's really easy to play these veteran mentor builds because sometimes you're just trapped in Ryze prison. You can't get Ryze and you're stuck 3 out of 4 mentor, which doesn't do anything, right? But with the veteran buff now, you have multiple outs because you can hit Kabuko, Udyr, Yasuo, or Ryze to get to 4, plus whatever unit you have the veteran power up on, so it's a lot more manageable to play around that. But pretty simple comp. For other augments other than artifact and radiant items, some generic reroll ones could do, like anything that gives you a champion duplicator, the lesser ones. Hastens up your timeline for Kabuko 3, Janna 3, those definitely help. Getting a bunch of items also helps because you can eventually itemize a bunch of different people. Whenever you go for 4 mentor, all of the mentors go off. So like Ryze, even though you're not building around him because you only have 2 executioner, like him with 4 mentor is enough. So if you get like a bunch of random items, you definitely can be using them. But full guide on the website, bunnymuffins.lol/meta, will be updated as needed throughout the patch. Next build up we have is the Artifact Bastion Kog'Maw build. So I call this the Artifact Bastion build because normally I wouldn't want to play it without an artifact. Like, is it playable? Yes, it's playable. But what is the difference? So we noticed that Janna, in her build, she was averaging 4.0, then like maybe 3.5, 3.75 with like Radiance and artifacts. Kog'Maw is like a 4.2, 4.3 without it. And with artifacts, it's like 3.3, 3.4, 3.7, 3.4. Like, the artifacts are really, 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 really good on him. So that's why you kind of want it. So you might be asking, which artifacts do I want? Static Shiv, Flicker Blade, Dawn Core, Lichbane, Wits End, Gambler's Blade. These are all very solid options. If you see any of these, and there are a lot, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 30 artifact items, so 6 out of 30. Very good chances to get those whenever you pop an artifact anvil. Like, disgustingly good. So normally some champions, they can only use like 2 that are like really, really good, and then like the other 4, they're like okay, if there even are 4 for those champions. But for Kog'Maw, like, he's got all the stuff in the world. So how do you build him based on your artifact? Well, of course you're still going to build some regular items for him because you can't get 3 artifacts, right? But how do you adjust the build? Well, if you have Static Shiv, then you definitely want something like a Rage Blade still to keep his attack speed up. And you also want the Spear of Shojin. Spear of Shojin might be one of the more important items just because it just kind of activates how his kit works. However, if you get Flicker Blade, then you want to replace the Rage Blade because a Flicker Blade will be getting you attack speed. Pretty much what you want to do here, based on the item you get down here, you want to see what stats it gives and then replace the item in the regular build. That's really all you have to do. And then you could focus itemization on other people. Who are the other people you could itemize? It could be Swain, and sometimes you could even splash in a Yasuo. Yasuo is just really good right now, oddly enough. People are playing him because he gives like a solid mentor buff, and you're going for 3 costs anyways. If you ever get like Three's Company or Trifecta, I forget the exact name of it. It's the one where you buff up 3 different 3-cost units. It's really good to add him in, and you might as well just go for it because he is a mentor unit. You get Edgelord from Shen when you run 6 Bastion, and then it's just another good option for secondary carry. Only go for him if you have enough items for him. If not, he could just be 2-star because you want to focus up some tank items on your Swain because the 2 people you use your power up on are going to be Kog'Maw and Swain. So Kog'Maw, Fairy Tail, Caretakers, pretty good stuff. Other ones are usable, but you definitely want to fish for Fairy Tail. And then for Swain, any tank will do. I'm not really going to be greedy on the Swain power-ups because I need to get Fairy Tail or Caretakers on Kog'Maw. So with that in mind, this is another reroll comp. So the augments, you already guessed it. You want the artifact items, and you also want the lesser duplicators to speed up your timeline. Also, anything that gives rerolls is really good. Stuff like Pandora's Bench is pretty useful. Though I do only like Pandora's Bench like in the middle of the game, not so much in Stage 2. Stage 2, it could be a little risky to take. It's very expensive. The general rule around Pandora's Bench in Stage 2 is that it needs to be something like Scuttle Puddle where you have like infinite econ. If not, you won't make much interest because you have to hold stuff on your bench. But yeah, just do 3-cost reroll for this. Nothing too complicated. You don't need to get Kog'Maw super early to level him up with Monster Trainer because they rework that. And yeah, just play the comp. Get a random item holder in the early game. We have some sample item holders down here, and you are going to be more than chilling. Of course, like, make sure you have an artifact because yeah, they're hard to get if you don't start the game with one. Next build up we have is Executioner Akali. This is the comp with the double Nashers Quicksilver build for both attack speed and critical strike. Get her to cast often and she just disappears. De-aggros, can't get CC'd either because of the Quicksilver, and overall just does really, really well. Paired up with Ryze. Ryze is going to be a good secondary carry. And he also gives Executioner and also the Mentor buff. And then you could also tank up your Cassante. Random mana items can go on J4 like Protector's Vow and stuff like that. But unlike the other 2 comps we looked at, this is going to be a fast 8 comp because you're playing around 4-cost units. We have 4 4-cost units here. And the one caveat to this build, always check the requirements or like conditions section that I have for every comp. You want to make sure you have best in slot Akali items. She doesn't really work without these item combos. I mean, we could check it out, right? We could put in Akali in Teamfight.lol Explorer tool over here, go to items, and then click Nashers, click Quicksilver, and then see how some of the other items fare. Like, there really aren't any games without the second Nashers. 28k games with that, and then like pretty much nothing with everything else, and it goes from 4.13 to like 4.5-ish average. Like, not ideal. Striker's Flail is at a 4.05, but such a low sample size. I'd much rather just have the other Nashers and then only go for the Guard Breaker if it's like absolute worst case scenario. Like, you pretty much need the best in slot on Akali. That's why I recommend for augments Pandora's items It allows you to pretty much handpick your items. I guess a sneaky way to do it could be maybe using Young, Wild, and Free. I don't really like that augment in general on average, but if you're forcing Akali, then I could see some merit into going for that because it'll help you get perfect items. But another thing to keep in mind is that the items that you need for Akali are not that contested. It's bows, belts, glove, and Negatron cloak. So nothing crazy, right? Like the only hard ones are bows, and none of the other components are that difficult because most of them are tank ones. So even though best in slot is mandatory, it's not too difficult to get compared to different comps. Like, for example, if you need like IE, Last Whisper, Giant Slayer, like that's pretty hard to get best in slots every time, right? If you absolutely need that combo because you need 2 swords, 2 gloves, and 2 bows. So that's like 6 highly contested components. Whereas this one, you just need like 2 or 3, right? Because glove is like sometimes it's contested, sometimes it's not, depends on the patch. But for power-ups, get Crimson Veil on Akali. It's pretty good. Like, I wouldn't say it's absolutely mandatory, but it does have like a step up on most of the other ones out there. Cassante, any tank one will do. Don't be too picky on this. And then, yeah, you just keep your team like that. Put random tank items on Cassante. He's not too picky. He's not like Kabuko up here where he wants like the ones that give a shield because he has the best defense one. Cassante, he just uses any item, any power-up. So pretty simple to work with him there. You just need best in slot Akali, and that's it. But let's move on into the A tier. So we have like the top 3 comps that I would recommend. But in the A tier, still very solid. Like Mighty Mech is doing really, really well still, especially in the data. And they made the comp a little bit different. So what they did in the recent patch is that they made the 7 Mighty Mech a little worse, but the 5 Mighty Mech a little better. And they also buffed Yone, so Yone is going to be a bit better. But yeah, you want to do the Mech Pilot stuff with Lucian and Senna. Pretty cool. And then get your Mighty Mech quite big. But for items, you could stack up your Senna and Lucian to power up the Mighty Mech if you're doing the Mech Pilot stuff. Karma can use random AP items. Also, utility is pretty good on her. Jarvan, you know him. He likes the Protector's Vow, any of the mana items. And then Yone, he could kind of use anything. Like, he could be your utility because you are using the mech to kind of carry. But if you have actual items, you could always do like Edge of Night, IE, Hand of Justice, things like that. And if you ever do get the Mighty Mech augment of I'll be the head, you get that in stage 2. It can be pretty fun, but it's really, 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 really risky. I cannot stress that enough because you need to both get all your mech units and also hit level 10. Very hard stuff to accomplish, so you need to not bleed out and die before that happens. The way to do it is to get a lot and a lot of econ before picking the augment. So if it's low econ game, like not much gold drops from the start, you cannot pick that augment on stage 2 one. I mean, you can, it's a free world or whatever, but I wouldn't recommend it. Not for your TFT rank, you know? If you're TFT rank maxing or whatever, like, not ideal. But if it's like Scuttle Puddle, gold subscription, and it was like 20 gold drop on neutrals round in stage 2, it's very rare. Or in stage 1, I mean. Then yeah, you could go for it for sure, right? That way you could hit level 10 very easily and get the Prismatic Mighty Mech going. So it's just high risk, high reward. You just have to pick it in the right situations. Don't just auto pick it because you're going mech, because you're not going to have the best time. But yeah, the most important part of this comp is finding Yone for 7 mech. They tried to make it a little less dependent on that in the patch notes, but like obviously you still need it, right? Like, who are we kidding? But there's a nice little cheese method down here that you could do to try to guarantee getting Mech Pilot a little more often. So you probably should check that out. Essentially, you fruit Senna first, because you can buy and sell Sennas in the shop if you don't get it, so you could use the fruit on her. If you get it, great. If not, sell her and find a new one. And then just auto get the other one on Lucian later on. But solid comp still, nothing too crazy there. Next comp up is one of the revived comps. We have not played with Katarina in a very long time. I think she's awesome because doing the Katarina reroll and the goofy positioning and praying that she hits backline, I don't know, it's kind of fun, kind of therapeutic. But you want to do 2-cost reroll for this, and to do that, you need to essentially just roll at level 6. You could always pop this out if you need a refresher on like how to play 2-cost reroll, but any of the scaling augments on Katarina is really good. One shout out to Not Done Yet. This one got buffed pretty bigly recently, and that gives her a lot more options in terms of power-ups to use. So her build is pretty static though. You do need like best in slot Katarina. It's going to be Edge of Night, Guard Breaker, and Hand of Justice, and if you get Radiant, it's really, really, really good. If you have the Radiant Masterwork, do the Hand of Justice. That's going to be the best one. Special shout out to Nashor's Tooth. That's also very buildable on Katarina instead of the Striker's Flail. But for Radiant items, it's got to be the Hand of Justice. It's by far the best one. None of the other ones come close. And then for artifacts, Zhonya's is incredibly good because it's both Edge at Night and an AP item all in one. Edge at Night is typically an attack damage item, and you don't need that, right? On Katarina, she's more of a caster, so Zhonya's is just super, super, duper, 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 duper good. No getting around that. Other ones that work are going to be Dawn Core. That's like a throwback because in the beginning it was really good on her, but now it's like there are better options, right? Seeker's Arm Guard people like a lot. Wit's End is okay. It's good because it gives lifesteal. It's not really because of that she attacks a lot, and that's pretty much it, right? Like you could try using some of the other ones, but it's mainly just those three. With Zhonya's being extremely, extremely, extremely good. It's like S+ with that. So if you ever get Zhonya's, if you pop Artifact early, just automatically go for that no matter what. I think they removed the portal that gives Artifact early, but obviously if you get it through Augment, then that's something else, right? Or if you get it through like maybe Loot Subscription. But I would probably only play her with either Radiant or Artifact, or if you get like a 2-star Katarina or like a pair of Katarinas with one of these power-ups on her. For Rakan, just use Unstoppable. It's nice because he runs through the enemy team there. Katarina walks up a little bit, and then she could jump to the backline very easily. So definitely fish for Unstoppable. And yeah, try to get one of the stackers. Pretty easy comp to play though. Oh yeah, and then you just go 7 Battle Academia. If you get a spat, Battle Academia spat, it's not that great, but if you do get one, drop it on Ryze. It's good because it saves you a unit slot, but it's not mandatory by any means. Then you drop Jayce. Next build up we have is going to be the Mentor Ryze Volibear build. One of the newer builds out there. You just run 4 Mentor and then you just add in Volibear because he kind of meshes pretty well with the random mech pilot package that you add on into this. So like the core of the comp obviously is Ryze, Kabuko, Yasuo, and Udyr. But the positioning here is a little weird. You notice that Udyr is in the back. That is on purpose because Udyr's mentor buff is he has this storm that applies anti-heal to a lot of people. So that's why you want him in the back. You don't care if he gets stuck because you want him to stay alive, so you get the anti-heal a bit longer. Also, you have like so many melee units that it kind of does get stuck. Jarvan, you want the mana items, Ryze, standard AP items in the back. He doesn't really need an item to help him cast, which is pretty nice. Volibear, IE plus anything is going to do the job. And yeah, you want this if you get a good mech opener early because it allows you to just preserve a lot of HP and get to level 8 without having to risk anything or do any rolling to stabilize. And then after that, having some econ items to hit Ryze or even Ryze 2, pretty nice because the comp revolves around Ryze and it's a little difficult because you're, again, in mentor prison sometimes if you don't get him. So do whatever it is in your power to get him, but ideally 1 econ augment early. You don't have to full win streak, but maybe if you go maybe 3-2 in both stage 2 and stage 3, that'd be pretty nice. That way you're not too low in the later parts of the game. Typically when you do have a fast 8 comp you want to play, you always want to try to win streak, but worst case scenario, don't lose too much. Other augments that can be useful is stuff like Buried Treasures. It gives you a lot of items to kind of spread around the love because you do play around with a lot of different things. And of course, like with 4 Mentor available, leftover items can always be used on like a Kabuko or something. He still does like a solid AoE CC at the end of the day. So if you get like too many Protector's Vows, you can never have too many because you just drop them on Kabuko. Lee Sin is a legendary in the late game you could play around with Executioner active to complement the Ryze. But yeah, Efficient, Icebender, Sky Piercer is good if you have Shred and Sunder missing, which is pretty crucial, right? Because it does save you 2 items. We have like an Even Shroud and a Void Staff here, but if you have Sky Piercer, like you don't need both of those items, right? And then for Volibear, Serious Slam is pretty good. Unflinching, also decent. I mean, Volibear, his power-up doesn't matter as much, I don't think. But yeah, anything that gives him a bit more damage is going to be preferred. But this comp aims to abuse the incredible single target damage available from Volibear and Ryze. So always position Ryze and Volibear on the same side. That allows you to Serious Slam forever, and you just get a lot of passive resets from Volibear to win the fight. So it's like they both focus one guy down and then kill, slam, kill, slam, kill, slam, kill, slam, etc., etc. One other tricky part about this comp is that Ryze is kind of difficult to hit because a lot of players are playing him. If you go to stats and then go to champions and then type in 4 for 4 cost and then go to play rate. Normally in every set in TFT history, the top 4 champs in 4 cost units or the top 5 champs are going to be all the tanks. So it normally would be something like Cassante, Jarvan, Leona, Poppy, and Set. And then after that, steep drop off to the damage units. But Ryze is so popular right now that he's actually the top 3 most played 4 cost champ. almost top 2. Is behind by a very, very little bit. So Ryze is very difficult to hit because there's going to be 2 other players going for it. Even if they're not using him as their main carry, they could just be using it as a random +1. For example, the Katarina comp, like Ryze is nice because it gives Executioner, right? And it also gives Mentor. So pretty hard to get, but that's why you want the Econ Augment, and that's why you want to be win streaking early. And honestly, Ryze 1 can stabilize for a little bit, but maybe by stage 5-1, like definitely need the Ryze 2, you know? But that's the one tricky part about this, and it also means you could aim for Volibear as your main carry instead and build AD items early. You could always use Senna as an item holder for the AD items and then switch them onto Volibear later, but it's one other strategy to consider. Also, if you have Archangel Staff, use Icebender. If not, Efficient is a little bit better. Next build up we have is Bastion Yasuo. This comp got a lot better because Yasuo has his like stupid wind wall power up, which is really, really good. But essentially what you want for this comp to work out really well, it becomes like S tier if you get this, is if you get Bastion Emblem or if you get a range artifact item like Sniper's Focus, because Yasuo just starts going ham. It protects him. All you need to do is keep him safe because you have 6 Bastions to tank up anything that could come after you. But if you are playing him, you can do Hemorrhage if range. That one is the one that applies a 40% bleed. It's really good because he's an area of effect champion, so he does his little wind slash, damages 3 people, they're bleeding, and then eventually when you cast enough, it's going to eventually kill all of them. Wind Wall is good if you're melee, so if you have the Bastion emblem, then Wind Wall is really good. And then for your other power-ups, Swain is going to be good on either like Tankzilla, Body Change, any of the generic tank ones. And yeah, 3-cost reroll for this comp. You want reroll augments for sure because it's very expensive to do 3-cost reroll unless you're on something like Scuttle Puddle. i.e. Hand of Justice, pretty much no arguments there for me with the Bastion emblem. But if you have the range item for Yasuo, such as Sniper's Focus or Rapid Fire Cannon, then you want Infinity Edge and like a Giant Slayer or maybe Guard Breaker, things like that. After you itemize your Swain, utility on Leona is pretty good, and then in super late game you could do something like Braum to buff him up because he will have the 6 Bastion buff going, and he also gets Luchador from Volibear, so he ends up being a very good late game insurance policy. Next build up we have is Malzahar Heavyweights. This is the one with Noxious Trap power up. You pretty much need it to do this build, but yeah, you just go full AP Malzahar. Noxious Trap is pretty funny to play. This is the one where damage you deal burns, wounds, shreds, and sunders enemies, and that's perfect for Malzahar. We save like 2 items on him. We don't need to build Void Staff Morello anymore because, well, he does it automatically with that power up. So it's really nice to have on him. Pair it with Heavyweights, lots of 3 costs to reroll. You have Darius and Jayce, but yeah, Darius is going to be the secondary, Malzahar going to be primary, and if you ever start the game with any sort of direction for Malzahar based on your items, like definitely go for it. Or if you get like a reroll augment in the early game, then definitely go for this because it is pretty powerful to use, and it's got the new power up, which I think is really fun to play around with. And you could even use the 2x KO power up on the Darius. That's the one where after 2 takedowns, he stuns a bunch of people and then gains damage amp for the rest of combat. So pretty solid build. Blue buff, Jeweled Gauntlet, Rabadon's on Malzahar because he doesn't need the utility anymore. i.e. Bloodthirster, Starix Gauge, you could do Hand of Justice. There's like a lot of items that can work on Darius. But yeah, standard 3-cost reroll comp. Blighting Jewel makes this even better, by the way. Makes it S tier, so if you do pop the artifact early, which a lot of people like doing, you can just hard force this comp. But yeah, very strong comp, very simple to play. The rest of the build is just going to be all the heavyweight units, and then Syndra is good because it gives you Prodigy and also Star Guardian. Not that the Star Guardian matters because you're just running 2 of them, but hey, something is better than nothing. But yeah, artifacts, Living Forge, Portable Forge, Heroic Grab Bag, Pandora's, Team Building, Prismatic Ticket, Plot Armor, Spirit Link, Last Second Save, those are pretty solid stuff to abuse the tankiness of your team. But yeah, you really want artifacts than the reroll augments. Next up we have is Star Guardian. Star Guardian's not so bad right now. They did get nerfed, I'm not going to deny that, but overall they're still definitely very playable. Nothing too much has changed from this build. You just want to play all the Star Guardian units and then add in Cassante and Kabuko. You can take out Ahri. Ahri's actually pretty trash right now. They removed her best item, and they also made it so that she just isn't that great in general. She's averaging 4.93, so just don't play her. 3-star average placement I think is crazy. Imagine being a 4.3 as a 3-star 3-cost. That is absolutely horrid because it's so expensive to get, so this doesn't include all the games where people are going for 3-star Ahri but fail to get her. So this is absolutely comical for me. So just don't play her. She doesn't exist in your shop ever. Not in a Star Guardian build, not in a Sork build, but yeah. Despite all that though, like the Jinx Poppy combo is still very solid. It just doesn't stabilize as hard as it did last patch because, I mean, they nerfed this comp, right? So makes sense. And it was too OP, don't get me wrong. You should not be that stable on Poppy 1, Jinx 1. It still is decently stable, but it's not like super stable as it was before. So you need to actually play the comp when you have a good position for it instead of just hard forcing it every game, which obviously is much more healthy TFT. So I'm all in support of that. But yeah, if you get a good Star Guardian start, maybe you have a Rel 2, some random item holder in the back, some Bastions that complement her, then yeah, you could go for this comp. If you get an emblem, this comp becomes even better. And then for fruits, Poppy best defense is probably her best one, and then Jinx, literally anything can do. But Gathering Force, Hyperactive, gonna be my go-tos, but there are other options that you could pick from. But this comp is much healthier now. It's only useful if you get a good Star Guardian start, which is the same as the Soul Fighter build, which is the next comp. This is a 10th comp we're going over right now, and yeah, 8 Soul Fighter is still good. 6 is really weak now. I believe they nerfed 6 Soul Fighter. I mean, we're not going to get that much info from the data because like no one ends with 6 Soul Fighter, but 8 is still good, but it assumes that you get Gwen or have an emblem for it. But it's harder to get to 8 because 6 is weaker. And then 8 is also weaker. I have the changes here. Soul Fighter, 6 got nerfed from 450 to 425, and then 8 got nerfed from 650 to 600. So yeah, it does hurt, but the comp is still solid. And if you get a game for it, definitely go for it, but don't just hard force it from the beginning, unless you get Tournament Favors or Soul Fighter Emblem, which honestly is the way to play most of these vertical comps because they should never be OP from any spot. They should only be OP in the spots that are good for them. But yeah, Samira, items didn't really change. Same thing. Shojin, i.e. crit combo. Gwen can pretty much use anything. Set can also pretty much use anything. And then for the power-ups, Needlework is my favorite for Gwen. And then Samira, on the edge is good, but honestly, you could use a lot of other things. And then Set any generic tank. You're not that picky with the power-ups in this comp. So use your rerolls aggressively if you want them because you pretty much can get anything and you don't need to switch anything around. But yeah, pretty easy comp to play. After that, we have the B tier. Like most of these just aren't that great anymore. They're only like highly situational. But I guess a special note to Fast 9, like Fast 9 is still viable, especially with Crystal Gambit. I forgot to mention, holy cow, Crystal Gambit is good still, like the cash outs. You could Crystal Gambit into anything. Oh, I do mention it up in the summary, sorry, I just didn't say it out loud. But yeah, you pretty much play Crystal Gambit, then pivot to Carry Twist of Fate if you're playing with the 7 Crystal Gambit, but you could also just use the cash out to go into any of the S or A tier comps. So like Crystal Gambit into Janna, Mentors, Akali, or Mech, one of the best ways to play right now if you are trying to do that. So just to summarize at the top, like Veteran Mentor makes it so easy to get to 4 Mentor with a Veteran power-up. If you ever get an Artifact, Kog'Maw is insane. Katarina is insane if you get Zhonya's. Bastion Yasuo becomes a great option. Malzahar heavyweights if you get Blighting Jewel. So always get Portable Forge and just pop it, see what you get, or Living Forge, pop it, see what you get, because there are a lot of good comps that can come from it, and you could just hard force it, which makes the game decision making a lot easier for you, which allows you to climb a lot better, because that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to TFT max out here, trying to get LP in the most efficient way possible. And sometimes like playing optimal TFT means not just hard forcing Portable Forge every game, but that involves actually thinking, right? Sometimes we don't want to think, we just want to see item, see augment, and go for that comp. It makes it a lot easier because you don't have to pivot perfectly, which is something that even pro players struggle with, you know? So don't have any shame in like going for like the quote unquote easy comps because they are fun to play. I don't know, like I like hard forcing from 2-1. I used to not like it as much. I used to be a flex player, but honestly, in this recent set, flex is not as good as it was in like set 2, for example. I don't know if anyone viewing here even played in set 2, but yeah, set 2, you could flex a lot, you could force, like both were viable. Maybe it was just because everyone sucked at the game, so more things were like forgivable. But essentially nowadays, you need to just copy comps like bunnymuffins.lol/meta. I'm not just saying that because I benefit from people visiting the website. It's literally just true. Like, gone are the days where you can just play random 4-cost units and 5-cost units and kind of line them up or whatever, because yeah, the game just doesn't work like that anymore, and you just have to adjust to it. But if you're looking for comps to just hard force every single game, unfortunately, I think it's just the Executioner Akali, but that's only if you get perfect items. But if you're a demon and get it every game, like, it's definitely viable. Out of all the S tier comps, I don't think any of the other ones are like worth forcing like super hard. I guess maybe Mech, you could force Mech maybe, but yeah, probably just the Akali comp. It's easier to force 4-cost comps in my opinion than rerolls, because like sometimes you just don't get a reroll start and you're just like, okay, I can't do this, right? But yeah, mainly it's just going to be Crystal Gambit cash out into one of the S tiers, and that is that. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below or join the Discord channel. Links are in the description. And if you want to help see more videos like this, definitely head on over to my website, bunnymuffins.lol, but that's not enough, so you got to get your friends on there too, so tell them about it, spread the word or whatever, because that is going to be the best way to support me, and then that way I can make better guides, and then you benefit even more after that. So go there, and if you have any data checking needs, if you like TFT data, go to teamfight.lol, and you can get a lot of useful stats there, and I think this is the best way to present them, because it's like a little less confusing than the other sites out there in my opinion. But that's going to be it from me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.